Good evening, viewers. Welcome to another session of Mazungumzo. This is your host, Dr. Gilbert Githere, coming to your homes with another program of Mazungumzo. This time we are continuing with the same program of Being on Time by Martin Heidegger. As I said before, those people who are doing a doctorate, if you're looking for a narrow topic, there's nothing appropriate or to the point as this book by Martin Heidegger, Being on Time. You can imagine it's 3 words. But what he does, he writes about 200 pages of analysis of what is being. Because he's trying to see what is being. People used to say that is self-evident. You remember the program we did before? Many people, when you ask them what is being, even by Judeo-Christian religion or any religion, they will tell you that is self-evident. The world is a being, God is a being, and it's finalized. But the human being and that word is never expounded in a philosophy of primordial or classics during Aristotle, Socrates, during or even after, until Martin Heidegger thought about it. So it is an interesting analysis, and this is what we are continuing with, and this is part 6, excuse me. And, we are just trying to digest how he analyzed being, who is being, after taking the topic being on time. And as we continue to involve ourselves in this discussion, you will find that the idea of who is being is actually also very much tied to the acquisition of knowledge by Dasein. Because he picks Dasein. It's like, in any production that you do or analysis, you need also to get something like the Black Panther movie, Wakanda Forever. Now, that word is in your head, Wakanda Forever. They use it to like a magic wand to explore the world of Black Panther. So actually, Martin Heidegger came up with the word Dasein. Dasein. This is the magic word, like Wakanda Forever. So, and who is Dasein is what we've been looking at. And you can see as Dasein becomes more enlightened, he has understanding, he has knowledge, he has experience, he has attained to understand a perception of his environment, the niche, the region is his niche and habitat with all its equipment, because niche, region, in a who is being is so important. It's like you're looking for a place to place your, what should I say, a business. Business people will always tell you, location, location, location. Where you'll place your business will be very much determine what kind of profit you're gonna make henceforth. Because if you place it at a good location and it is appropriately located to bring you customers, especially you look at somewhere people are crossing a river. When they get the other side and they are going somewhere, they will need to buy something, might be an umbrella, they will need some food, they might need a shirt or some kind of a raincoat. So location. So also Dasein, his world, his location, he has also to select a region where most of his equipment will be available. We're going to get into that. And actually, Martin Heidegger does a very interesting thing. he does what you call, he goes through other literatures. As you're told in doing your PhD or master's topic, you have got to revisit what other people have done in that area. So you can see that he also refers to Greek philosophy, Aristotle, Socrates, Parmenides, and Plato, because these are people who expounded on what the philosophy of the Western world has been. So Martin Heidegger chronologically actually goes through people like René Descartes. I think so. I am. You know, that's a very important statement because it gives us idealism and realism, body and mind, body and spirit. And from there is discussion of a little bit what is being, who is being. But basically what Descartes does, and that's why Martin Heidegger was not satisfied with him, is that he looking what is being rather than who is being. Because who is being will give you what entities really make being. Because as he gets to acquire knowledge and he understands the self, because as you grow older and you become learned, you understand your environment, because we are creatures of our environment. Our perception is what makes us. So as Dasein gets to about to be 22 years or 25, he has pondered over who am I? I'm a human being. Point. But who am I? What makes me a human? He has moods. And these moods, they from 0 to positive, 0 to negative, they are always playing him tricks. Dasein, he has these low moods. He's feeling sad. He's feeling lonely, forlorn. He's thinking about what should I do about the people around me who don't have as much as I have. Have I been a good person? Then sometimes he's happy, extremely happy. He's buying himself presents. He's buying other people presents. He's visiting with friends. He's laughing. And these are fluctuation of Dasein. And when he learns these things about himself, actually, and he becomes enlightened, that is who is being. He has moods. And this is what we are covering. I'm just kind of generally putting you in a understanding zone of where have we been and might be where are we going. And in this analysis, as I said before, I'm just kind of being a little lengthier this time on intro before I go to our notes, or you can see behind me here, is that in order for you to be able to analyze Dasein in the context of Martin Heidegger, he has to select a method. Even when you are doing your analysis of any topic you're going to pick, you can do qualitative, quantitative, phenomenological, hermeneutics, and many other styles that methods you might use. And Martin Heidegger, who was also familiar with Edmund Husserl, as they taught in Berlin, in Marburg and Freiburg, and University of Berlin and Frankfurt, and all these kind of universities around Germany that time. The Edmund Husserl had come with this magical system of analysis using phenomenology. And phenomenology is a technique of analyzing a phenomena. Excuse me. And a phenomena, as you will see in this discussion, being is a phenomena, the existence of Dasein. So he picks phenomenology as the style of studying phenomena, the phenomena of existence of Dasein. So as he faces this phenomena, it's as if he has a magic wand. It can help him to come up with solutions to this problem accepted by the intellectual world because he's using the right tools. He's using phenomenology, and phenomenology allows him to look at the existence of Dasein, and it allows him to kind of ontologically also. He uses ontology. The ontology is studying the nature of being, which also is a magical wand. So he's tying up a tool that will allow him to be able to analyze the being and its entities that make up Dasein. So once he has gotten his tools organized, he's like a carpenter or a sculptor. He has assembled all the things. He starts now to chip onto the rock that he has, the world, and it is worldhood. It's worldhood. Is your hood. You know where to buy your nice ice cream. You know where to buy your best sandwich. You know where to buy your best clothing. It's your hood. You know where to go and play the best game and to play the best basketball with your friends or football, whatever you're in. That's your hood. And when you want to chill, you know you want to have good time, like you're having a drink. If you're allowed by age, you know what is your best pub and where to get the best music, R&B, blues, jazz, rap, hip-hop. You know where to go. That's your hood, worldhood. It's just like neighborhood and hood. These things come way back from people like Martin Heidegger. They just have been improved on. My hood. You think you have originated that word. No, it's been there, worldhood. In your everydayness. In your world, the world. Because Dasein is he's part of the world. His entity is very, very much of a thing. Because Dasein is actually a substance. His matter, body, and a human being is matter. And you can never change, improve it. It can only have color and softness or hardness, but you can never change matter. So having said that, let's now go to the details. Like for example, he goes into, like for example, south wind is a good indicator of rain being on the way for farmers, or whoever has to hide the coming of the rains. The fact here is that one has to know south wind and its characteristics. Otherwise, they are present at hand. So anything which you have not discovered and you are not using it as a tool, as an instrument, you assign it something, you involve it. It is present at hand. It is somewhere hidden until you can bring it out. Present at hand, it's something which is not yet discovered, has not been concealed, is unconcealed, and indeterminate. That's Hegelian. If you read Hegel, I'm familiar with phenomenology of spirit, you will find he uses indeterminate, meaning that thing has never come to being. It is still hidden in the sciences. It is just the algorithms, for example, now in the internet. The algorithms in the internet are actually in the state of present at hand. But some of it is now becoming ready to hand or ready at hand, because we are discovering how to use a logarithm, tie them up, make an algorithm which can imitate humans. But it's going to be hard, because when it comes now to who is being or who is IT, looking at his being, you can imagine when we get to that. Because that's why I'm doing this. Because without going through this, you can never understand how hard the algorithms which are being prepared in the internet will have a hard time. Because you see, in the who is being, Martin Heidegger proves that the very tacit, intricate, finesse, very fine entities are the ones which make Dasein. They make us what we are. And they are very, very subtle, almost to nothingness. Something, nothingness. So these entities that I said present at hand in this sentence, that's why I deviated a little bit. The present at hand, the wind. Before you know that south wind, when they are blowing, they're gonna bring rain, and so I should start doing my farming. I should start plowing and planting because the rains are coming. You have to be culturally familiar with them, environmentally familiar with them. And that's when you can actually predict that when you hear or detect south winds, it is time for plowing and planting. And then some other thing happens, it is almost time to harvest. All these things make you a being, because you understand your environment and your niche fully. I'll continue. There, ready to hand as an entity, is to know their being. It is not appropriate to say that one has stumbled upon south wind as a thing and experience them as those winds whose characteristics is rain for farmers. It is appropriate when these winds are entities familiar to those who take interest in weather elements, so they are ready to hunt for them whenever they show up in the environment. I had gone through that. That you can only, things can become only entities when you are actually knowing they are what I'm saying. Like tying a knot and leaving it somewhere when you're walking. You're a scout. You know what to tie to tell somebody, I was here and I passed through here. I'm in a problem. Or I am just headed this way, so follow me. We're going to end up at the same point. You got to understand the notes and signs in your environment. This is just Martin Heidegger being so detailed, churning this, making this quilt, sewing this quilt, unraveling it, deciphering it, circumspecting it through experience, understanding, intuition, conception, perception, thinking, analyzing, synthesizing, judging, until he knows the fine points, the fine entities that make up Dasein. And they actually make the being of Dasein as he is, or what you are. When you sit somewhere as an accountant and you have actually reached your apex of your profession, That's design at its perfection. That's what he's analyzing basically. But he's trying to see, when you say being, you understand what actually entails the word being. It is existence. Ontologically, it is existence. And it has all the essentials. The essentials are like a hammer. A mason or carpenter, a hammer is so important that actually Martin Heidegger uses hammer, the tool hammer, as an entity. So essential that you can actually be using a hammer and you're doing so much work, but you are not even thinking about it, that you are building a shelter for somebody where he's going to dwell for years and years, feeling warm. You're just hitting the wood and the stones and everything, and might be in your doing that, you're actually even thinking of your retirement. You're just hitting nails, but your mind is going through, how am I going to live when I retire? So this is the familiarity of things in a society. But funny enough, there are people who, Martin Heidegger calls the indigenous people primitive. They are not able to conceptualize what he is writing. But here I'm going to decipher it a little bit. That's a big mistake on the part of Martin Heidegger. Because when a human being has a language, because all this that I'm discussing right now, its importance and why Martin Heidegger is able to analyze being and who is being is because he had the German language. Any human being with a language, he is capable of very, very sophisticated knowledge. He is able to decipher his environment, irrespective that he has been to London, he speaks English. That is just the West who have fabricated misinformation to show that you got to have to know English or English culture to be able to acquire knowledge. No, you need just a language. It could be Hawaiian, it could be Aboriginal, like people from Australia, they have their own language. And left alone, they will decipher their environment in total. They will arrive to describe who they are, what kind of being they have, what entities make them human beings. That language they're using is been coded in, it has a logarithm complete, able to decipher algebra, to decipher geometry, to decipher so many kind of sophisticated problems. So here I'm saying Mulevy Asante in his book Afrocentrism, it has a broader title, excuse me, but I'm just going to, Mulevy Asante. He's at, I think, Howard University, Department of African American Studies, who disagree with Heidegger in that the traditional knowledge was very much advanced to be able to theoretically decipher the entities of a sign from the state of present at hand and put them in their rightful being, ready to hand, ready at hand. The big question here is whether entities of the sign have been discovered in their thing, scientifically stage, or they have been discovered as equipment, which yet their understood meaning is in its pre-phenomenological indeterminate. That I'm going to leave for you to digest, because some of these things are very deep, and you need, to go get the book Being and Time, go page by page, decipher some of these things like pre-phenomenologically indeterminate. Because I told you, in the present at hand state, that is pre-phenomenologically indeterminate. Things have not been exposed, disseverance, like time and space and time. Disseverance is when you see the space provided in the worldhood or in the world, speciality, space and time. Space is so important. We cannot be, nothing can be without space or time. We are creatures of those two things. And you can see how abstract that situation is. We are creatures of space and time. So space that you see, you look at it, you see that's a chair and that's a table. They occupy specific areas, and you can see the breadth, the depth, the width, and height, extension. Extension is another thing which is, and you cannot be what you are without them. Extension. So thinking and extension, space and time, these things are important. They are what make us. I have got to occupy space to be a being. So if I don't have space, you cannot be. And these are things, as we go to the internet or artificial intelligence, they're going to become crucial. Because for us to be able to practice or have a social media, we have got to have very appropriate algorithms that address these very crucial things that I'm talking about. Who is being? Because they have got to go and take place in artificial intelligence world. And as I talked about artificial intelligence and how are they objects that we can say these are true objects. There's a program I did about that. You can revisit it and it will become so important because you can marry it what I'm doing here. Who is being? Because the same questions are going to be asked in the sophisticated robotics and cybernetics that are going to come in the future. They are going to become very central questions. When you build a robot, could it go wild and start killing people? What are the aesthetics to be inculcated in robots so that they can be able to fit well in the Gaia, in the broader terms of things? Involvement and significance, the worldhood of the world. You know, I'm kind of covering these things, so when I read these things, sometimes it pops into your mind, he talked about that. Worldhood is your hood. Because you see, in your hood, there are things that are not yet discovered. And a good example is the internet. It's not fully discovered how useful it's going to be in perpetuation of knowledge. We are just chipping onto this big mountain of knowledge of the internet and robotics and cybernetics. Ready to hand is an entity of the being, readiness to hand. This ontological relationship is pointed at world and the worldhood. The world is always available, that is ready at hand. The world is always open to let that which is ready at hand within it show itself to us or design. The present hand has so many things hidden in there. One of it was the computers. There is one time computers were present at hand because they had not been evolved. It's just like during the slave time, people used to pick cotton. They would separate cotton using their hands to take out the seeds, because cotton as a fiber has a lot of seeds when it as a unit, as a bulb. So you got to take the seeds out. So they discovered the ginnery, a machine which could take the seeds, just churns them out. So you can see that there was cotton. So humans said just to do things with it. But this discovery is scientific. Now, when things like those are scientifically discovered, you should not confuse them with actually entities that make us humans. The entities that make who is being, they are very intricate. I said, understanding, moods, conscientiousness, empathy. All these are entities that make us being. But at the same time, you can see there is a ginnery. It's an equipment. This out there in the environment, discovered, because ginnery is just like taking something like a pin, and instead using your fingers, you take pins and you run them through the cotton fibers and take out the seeds. That's the ginnery. So you can see you can even use sharp sticks. But those sharp sticks are available in the environment. It is just that Zion gets more knowledge and he discovers, oh, I can use thorns, put them in a group, and I can run them through a ball of cotton, and I can take the seeds out. But the thorns are available in the environment. They're actually in a state of present at hand. But when you realize you can do that, they become ready to hand, ready at hand, and you can use them. So you can see the overlapping of things as they are, and ontologically, phenomenologically, going through the phenomena of existence and discovering using phenomenology the entities that make a human being is more intricate than the scientific discoveries. At this point, it is just fitting to expound what ready to hand means in relation to the world. It basically means equipment which can be put to use by design for fostering its existence or its survival. Or in other words, it is that item which has an assignment or reference when it comes to duties or work to be done by design. The equipment with certain entities of being is freed for the use of design. You got to kind of digest these things, kind of go through the program. It takes time for these things to be clear to you. They can look so confusing. They can feel so overloading, but for some funny reason, they make us what we are. So actually it is just fitting. I thank somebody like Martin Heidegger for having, and Edmund Husserl, and many other participants like Oman van Quine, Molefi Asanta, Kwame Appiah. These people leave us valuable or almost priceless knowledge, which makes you even stand to understand the world you never thought. Could I understand artificial intelligence and the complications which are in it and the problems we have in controlling it to have the beings or the entities that make us human. We are so intricate and complicated. We are interwoven in a very, very complicated way by the Almighty. Those people making algorithms for artificial intelligence world. Because all these things we are doing and looking who is being at the center of it is only one word: care. Can you imagine? A human being at the center of his life is care. Can you imagine to care for one another, to care for the environment, to care for the entities that we are discussing here? Because they have got to remain fine. They have got to remain able to be utilized. That's why you see beings, and at the center of care is empathy, and of utmost importance, conscience. The ability to live harmoniously, in agreement, to be able to make decisions together as teams and as human beings. Conscience is at the center of who is being. Kant calls it the court of justice. It is that silent, very fine voice in your heart. I'm going to go Judeo-Christian a little bit. At the base of your ethics, which if you are going to do something wrong to somebody, it's going to question you. Do you know what you're doing? Is this thing going to haunt you in the future? And should you go